Millionaire CEO pretended to be poor and got rejected by 15 women on blind dates, but one humble woman said yes. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the journey of Ethan and Emily. Ethan Carter adjusted the frayed collar of his thrift store flannel shirt, staring at his reflection in the smudged mirror of a Dallas coffee shop bathroom. At 32, he was, by all accounts, a catch, tall, with sharp green eyes and a jawline that had landed him on Dallas Elite's most eligible bachelors list 3 years running. But the man in the mirror wasn't Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, a biotech empire worth $3 billion. He was Ryan Miller, an unemployed construction worker with $47 in his bank account and a borrowed Honda Civic parked outside. Tonight was his 15th blind date in 2 weeks, and Ethan was ready to throw in the towel. "This is, without a doubt, the dumbest idea I've ever had," he muttered, tugging at the cheap shirt his assistant, Lucas Bennett, had scrounged from a clearance rack. The plan had sounded brilliant in the sterile boardroom of his downtown penthouse. Disguise himself as a broke nobody to find a woman who loved him for who he was, not his bank account. For years, Ethan had watched friends, colleagues, and girlfriends transform the moment they learned his last name. Their eyes lit up, not with affection, but with the glint of opportunity. His last relationship, with a model named Vanessa, had ended when she admitted she'd only stayed for the private jet rides and the promise of a Birkin bag. Ethan's phone buzzed on the sink. A text from Lucas, asterisk, "Don't chicken out now, boss. Date number 15's profile looks promising. Emily Harper, 28, gold prospector. No filters on her pic. Good luck." Ethan sighed, shoving the phone into the pocket of his worn jeans. A gold prospector? In 2025 Dallas? He pictured a grizzled old man with a pickaxe, not a woman his age. Still, he was out of options. The past 14 dates had been a parade of disasters, each one chipping away at his hope. He stepped out of the bathroom, the hum of the coffee shop, Beans and Dreams, a cozy spot in a working-class neighborhood greeting him with the scent of roasted coffee and fresh pastries. The place was a far cry from the Michelin star restaurants he usually frequented, but it felt oddly comforting. Couples chatted at wooden tables, a barista joked with a regular, and a toddler smeared frosting on a high chair. Ethan scanned the room for his date, his heart sinking as the clock ticked past 7 p.m., another no-show. He thought, slumping into a chair by the window. The idea for this experiment had come after a late-night scroll through X, where Ethan stumbled across a viral thread about America's growing wealth gap. Posts from Dallas locals raged about skyrocketing rents, stagnant wages, and the untouchable elite hoarding opportunities. Ethan, sitting in his $10 million penthouse, felt a pang of guilt. He wasn't just rich, he was the kind of rich that made people whisper at galas. Yet, despite the cars, the yacht, the private chef, he felt like a ghost in his own life. No one saw him. They saw dollar signs. The X thread had ended with a challenge. If you're so rich, try living like the rest of us for a week. Bet you couldn't handle it. Ethan had taken it personally, so, with Lucas's reluctant help, he crafted the persona of Ryan Miller. No job, no prospects, just a guy scraping by. Lucas had set up a profile on ConnectSphere, a popular dating app, and lined up 15 blind dates across Dallas. Ethan had expected a few rejections. Maybe some women would balk at his situation, but he hadn't anticipated the creative cruelty of it all. Date number 1, Jessica, had bolted when he mentioned he was between jobs, leaving her latte untouched. Date number 3, Lauren, faked a phone call from her sick dog and practically sprinted out. Date number 7, Megan, had been blunt. "No offense, Ryan, but I'm not dating someone who can't afford a decent car. Date number 10, Ashley, had handed him a $5 bill for gas before ghosting him. By date number 14, a marketing consultant named Rachel, who spent the entire dinner scrolling X for luxury vacation inspo, Ethan was done. True love, it seemed, was a fantasy for people who didn't know better. He glanced at his watch. 7:15 p.m. Emily. Harper was officially late. Ethan sipped his black coffee, the cheapest thing on the menu, and considered calling it quits. Maybe he'd been naive to think anyone could look past money or the lack of it. Maybe Vanessa was right. People like us don't get real love, Ethan. We get contracts. The cafe door burst open, snapping him out of his thoughts. A woman stumbled in, looking like she'd just crawled out of a landslide. Her brown hair was a tangled mess. Dirt streaked her cheek, and her work boots left faint smudges on the floor. She scanned the room, panting, and shouted to no one in particular. "Is there a Ryan here?" Ethan stood, half-stunned. Ryan." She rushed over, dropping a battered backpack onto the chair across from him. "Thank God, Emily Harper. So sorry I'm late. We had a little incident at the site. I'm a mess, I know." She grinned, wiping her hands on her jeans, which only smeared the dirt further. Her hazel eyes sparkled with a mix of exhaustion and mischief, and her smile unfiltered, unpolished hit Ethan like a freight train. "A little incident?" he asked, eyeing the mud caked on her sleeves. "Oh, just a gallery wall. Deciding it wanted to retire early. Nearly buried me, but I'm short, so I ducked under it." She laughed, brushing a strand of hair from her face, leaving another smudge. "You okay sitting with someone who looks like they lost a fight with a mud pit?" Ethan blinked, caught off guard by her candor. Yeah, no problem. You sure you're okay? Comes with the job." She shrugged, plopping into the chair. "Wow, this place is fancy. You sure you can afford it?" "I can cover my coffee. No worries." For the first time in 2 weeks, Ethan felt a spark of hope. "I can manage 2 coffees," he said, smiling. "But thanks for the offer." "Don't say I didn't warn you," Emily teased, heading to the counter. Ethan watched her greet. The barista by name Maria, apparently, and ask about her son's soccer game while slipping a generous tip into the jar, even though her wallet looked as worn as her backpack. When she returned with 2 steaming mugs, she slid one toward him. "All set. So, Ryan, tell me, what do you do besides, being between jobs?" The question was simple, but her tone curious, not judgmental, threw him. He stuck to his script. Construction, mostly. Right now, I'm rethinking things. Life, Emily nodded, picking dirt from under her fingernails. "I get it. My dad used to say life sometimes forces you to hit pause and find a new path." Was he in construction too? No, he was. Ethan hesitated, crafting a lie that felt less like a betrayal. "He was a mechanic, passed away a few years ago." "I'm sorry," Emily said softly, her eyes meeting his. "My dad's gone too. Mining accident, 5 years back. Taught me everything I know about the job, though. And one big lesson? Judge people by their heart, not their wallet." Ethan's chest tightened. For the first time in years, someone was looking at him, not his portfolio. "That's a good lesson," he managed. "Your dad sounds like he was a great guy." "He was," Emily smiled, a little wistful. "After he died, a bunch of vultures tried to buy our land for pennies. I said no way and learned the trade myself. Took a while to convince the crew a 23-year-old knew her stuff, but I won them over. Partly with my lasagna. It's legendary." Ethan laughed a real, unguarded laugh. "Lasagna, huh? That's your secret weapon?" "Oh, I've got others." She counted on her dirt-streaked fingers. "I can mimic bird calls, make origami napkins, name every state capital, And my grandma Evelyn? She's 78 and could out-investigate the FBI. Last week, she grilled some poor guy at the grocery store about his intentions with me. In the cereal aisle, Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. What did he say? Ran for his life. But she got his number anyway. She's planning a casual dinner to set us up. I'm gonna have to fake the flu. Emily grinned, and Ethan found himself grinning back. The weight of the past 2 weeks lifting. They talked for an hour, the conversation flowing like they'd known each other forever. Emily shared stories of her life at the mind-grueling days, close-knit coworkers, and her dream of opening a technical school to teach modern mining techniques. Ethan, as Ryan, kept his answers vague but honest where he could, soaking in her warmth. When she stood to leave, she slung her backpack over her shoulder and said, "You're different, Ryan." "Different how?" he asked, heart racing. "Most guys talk about what they want to own. Cars, houses, you name it. You ask questions like you actually care about the answers." She paused, scribbling her number on a napkin. "So, wanna grab dinner this weekend? I cook better than this place, I promise." "I'd love to," Ethan said, his voice catching. After 14 rejections, someone wanted a second date. As Emily waved and walked out, he stood on the sidewalk, grinning like an idiot. For the first time in years, he felt alive. Across the street, a woman in designer sunglasses lowered her phone, having snapped photos of the entire scene. Olivia Carter, Ethan's older sister, and the Q of Carter Enterprises, smirked. Her brother was up to something ridiculous, and she was going to find out why. Ethan Carter, or rather Ryan Miller, stood in front of the bathroom mirror in his modest rented apartment, a far cry from his usual penthouse suite overlooking Dallas's glittering skyline. The faded flannel shirt and scuffed boots he wore as part of his disguise felt like a second skin now, but tonight they carried a new weight. It was Saturday, and he was headed to Emily Harper's house for dinner, the first second date he'd secured after 14 rejections. His palms were sweaty, a sensation he hadn't felt since his first boardroom pitch at Carter Enterprises. "Get it together, Ethan," he muttered, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's just dinner, not a merger." His phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Lucas Bennett, his assistant and reluctant accomplice in this masquerade. Asterisk. Don't blow it, boss. Emily's the real deal. Also, ditch the cologne Ryan Miller can't afford $300 cents. Ethan rolled his eyes but wiped off the faint trace of his usual Creed fragrance. Lucas was right. Ryan Miller was a guy who smelled of soap and hard work, not luxury. He grabbed the keys to the borrowed 2010 Honda Civic. A bottle of $10 wine from a gas station, Lucas's idea, and headed out, his heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. Emily's address led him to a quiet, working-class neighborhood on the outskirts of Dallas, where small bungalows lined the streets, their yards tidy but modest, with older cars parked in driveways. The area was a stark contrast to the glass and steel towers of downtown, where Ethan's real life unfolded. Here, kids rode bikes under streetlights, and neighbors waved from porches. It felt like stepping into a different world, one that, for the first time in years, made Ethan feel grounded. Emily's house was a light blue bungalow with a sagging porch overflowing with potted plants, ferns, succulents, and a few wilting marigolds. Before Ethan could knock, the door swung open, and Emily stood there, her hazel eyes bright, her brown hair pulled into a loose bun. She wore a simple floral dress that hugged her frame just enough to make Ethan's breath catch. "Ryan." "Right. On time," she said, her smile wide and genuine. "Hope you're hungry, because I made enough lasagna to feed the whole neighborhood." "I brought wine," Ethan said, holding up the bottle, suddenly self-conscious about its cheap label. Emily laughed, taking it. "Perfect. my kind of vintage affordable and questionable. She ushered him inside, and Ethan was hit with the cozy warmth of her home. The furniture was old but well-loved. Family photos lined the walls, and the smell of garlic and tomato sauce filled the air. A framed picture on the mantel showed a younger Emily with a man who must have been her father, both covered in dust, grinning at a mining site. The house felt like a hug, nothing like the sterile opulence of Ethan's mansion. Wow. This place is warm, Ethan said, meaning it. It's got character. Thanks. It's small, but it's mine. Inherited it from my grandma Evelyn when she moved to assisted living too many stairs for her now. Emily gestured vaguely toward the kitchen. She's in a one-story place closer to the city. I take care of her, you know? It's the least I can do after she raised me. Ethan nodded, a pang of guilt hitting him. His own family, his sister Olivia, mostly felt more like a corporate board than a source of warmth. You're close with her, then? Oh, yeah. She's a firecracker. Fair warning. If she meets you, she interrogates you like you're hiding state secrets. Emily grinned, setting plates on a worn wooden table. Sit, let's eat. Before this lasagna declares itself emperor. Dinner was a revelation. The lasagna was rich, cheesy, and better than anything Ethan had tasted in five-star restaurants. Emily talked with her hands, her stories spilling out between bites. She described growing up at the family's small gold mining operation, learning to operate machinery from her father, who died in a collapse 5 years ago. He always said, Emily, money's just dirt you dig up. Respect, though? That's gold you earn with your character. Ethan leaned forward, captivated. He sounds like he knew what mattered. He did. After he passed, some big companies tried to buy our land for nothing. Thought they could push me around because I was young. But I learned the trade, proved I could run the site. She paused, her eyes softening. It's tough, though. New environmental laws in 2025 are killing us. The feds want zero emissions, but upgrading our equipment to comply. That's money we don't have. Ethan's mind raced. Carter Enterprises had a division working on sustainable tech for industries like mining AI-driven systems to optimize resource extraction while meeting regulations. He wanted to tell her, to offer solutions, but Ryan Miller wouldn't know. About AI or biotech. That sounds intense, he said instead. How do you keep going? Stubbornness. Emily laughed, but there was a flicker of worry in her eyes. And the crew, their family. Jack, our equipment guy. Sarah, our geologist. She taught herself from YouTube and old textbooks. We make it work. Ethan felt a pull he couldn't explain. Emily wasn't just surviving. She was building something meaningful, piece by piece, for people who depended on her. You ever think about doing more? Like expanding the operation? All the time. My big dream? Open a technical school right here. Teach folks modern. Mining tech, safety protocols, even basic management. Give people a shot at better jobs. She blushed, pushing her plate away. Sounds crazy, right? Not at all, Ethan said, his voice firm. It's necessary. People need that kind of chance. Emily studied him, her gaze piercing. You're weirdly intense about that for a guy who's rethinking life. Ethan froze, realizing he'd let a bit of his CEO self slip through. Just seen too many people stuck without options, he said, recovering. Your dad was right about character. You're doing something real. She smiled, and for a moment, the world felt smaller. Just the two of them at that table. After dinner, they moved to the porch, where the Texas night was clear and dotted with stars. Emily pointed out constellations, sharing stories her father had told her. He said stars are like people, some shine loud, some quiet, but they all matter to make the sky whole. Ethan looked at her, the moonlight catching the curve of her cheek. He was a wise man. Stubborn too. sang in the shower so loud. The neighbors complained. She laughed, then grew quiet. I miss him every day. Ethan wanted to reach for her hand but hesitated. Ryan Miller didn't have the confidence of Ethan Carter. Instead, he said, "You're carrying his legacy." "That's something." Emily turned to him, her eyes searching. "Thanks, Ryan. You're easy to talk to." Most guys would have spent the night bragging about themselves. "Maybe I don't have much to brag about," Ethan said, the lie tasting bitter. "I doubt that." She nudged his shoulder, her touch light but electric. "You're here, aren't you? That's more than most." They talked until midnight, the conversation weaving through her plans for the mine, her grandmother's matchmaking annex, and even Ethan's made-up stories about construction jobs he'd never worked. When he finally stood to leave, Emily walked into the gate. "Thanks for tonight, Ryan. I had fun." "Thank you," Ethan said, his heart racing. "For being you." They stood close, the air charged. Ethan leaned in, aiming for her cheek. But Emily turned at the last second, and their lips brushed a fleeting, accidental kiss. "Oops," she said, blushing but grinning. "My bad." "Oops," Ethan echoed, his face warm. "Can I call you?" "For another date, I mean." "You'd better." She scribbled her address on his palm with a pen from her pocket. "Come." "Hungry, next time. I make a mean chili." As Ethan drove away in the Honda, waving through the window, he felt something he hadn't in years. Hope. Emily Harper saw him, not his wealth, not his status, but him. For the first time, he wondered if true love wasn't just a fantasy. 3 blocks away, he pulled into a gas station to switch cars. His driver, Carlos, waited with Ethan's Porsche, hidden from view. "Good date, sir?" Carlos asked as Ethan slid into the sleek interior, shedding Ryan's flannel for his tailored jacket. "Perfect," Ethan said, folding the flannel carefully. "Absolutely perfect." But as he drove home, a red pickup truck slowed at a stoplight nearby. Emily, behind the wheel, stared at him. Ethan Carter, stepping out of a Porsche in a suit that cost more than her monthly rent. Her brow furrowed, and before Ethan could wave, the light turned green, and she sped off. His phone rang seconds later. "Ryan?" Emily's voice was sharp, hesitant. "Was that you? In a Porsche?" Ethan's stomach dropped. Yeah," he stammered, grasping for a lie. "It's my boss's car. I drive for him sometimes, extra cash." "I see." Her tone cooled. "Nice boss. Must be tough working for someone with that kind of money." "He's complicated," Ethan said, hating himself. "Rich, arrogant, thinks he's better than everyone." "Sounds rough." Emily paused. "Talk soon, okay?" "Yeah, you too." Ethan hung up, resting his forehead on the steering wheel. "Carlos, I just called myself a jerk to the woman I'm falling for." "Bold move, sir," Carlos said dryly. "Very strategic." "It's not strategy. It's desperation." Ethan drove home, the weight of his lie heavier than ever. Emily Harper was the realest thing in his life, and he was already risking it all. Ethan Carter, still cloaked in the guise of Ryan Miller, felt like he was living in a parallel universe. For the past 2 weeks, his life as the CEO of Carter Enterprises had taken a backseat to early morning coffee runs, dusty drives to Emily Harper's mining site, and evenings spent laughing over her homemade chili. Tonight, they were at a local farmer's market in a working-class Dallas neighborhood, the air thick with the scent of grilled corn and fresh tamales, strings of fairy lights crisscrossed above, casting a warm glow over stalls piled with vegetables, handmade crafts, and jars of local honey. Emily, in a faded denim jacket and cowboy boots, tugged Ethan toward a booth selling pecan pies. "You've never had pecan pie?" she asked, her hazel eyes wide with mock horror. "Ryan, that's practically a crime in Texas. I'm more of a Granola bar guy, Ethan said, sticking to his Ryan Miller persona. In truth, his private chef had once flown in pecans from Georgia for a dessert he barely touched. But I'm open to conversion. Good, because I'm not dating a pie heretic. Emily grinned, handing the vendor a crumpled $10 bill for 2 slices. She passed one to Ethan, her fingers brushing his, sending a familiar jolt through him. Take a bite. Your life's about to change. Ethan took a cautious bite, the buttery crust and sweet, nutty filling melting on his tongue. Okay, he said, swallowing. You win. This is incredible. Told you. Emily nudged his shoulder, her smile infectious. Stick with me. Ryan, I'll show you the good stuff in life. As they wandered the market, Ethan marveled at how easy it felt to be with her. Emily greeted vendors by name, traded jokes with an elderly woman selling knitted scarves, and slipped a few extra dollars into a tip jar for a kid playing guitar on a street corner. She wasn't just part of this community, she was its heartbeat. Ethan, used to sterile boardrooms and calculated handshakes, felt like he was rediscovering what it meant to be human. Ever think about leaving Dallas? He asked as they sat on a bench, sharing a lemonade. Seeing the world or something? Emily tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. Maybe when I was younger. But this place, these people, they're home. The mine's my dad's legacy. You know? Plus, with all the new regulations, it's a fight just to keep it running. She sighed, her fingers tracing the rim of the cup. The feds are cracking down on emissions. They want us using fancy AI systems to monitor output, but that tech costs more than our whole operation makes in a year. Ethan's mind flickered to Carter Enterprises' AI division, which had recently developed environmental monitoring software for industrial clients. He could solve her problem in a heartbeat, fund the upgrades, connect her with engineers, but Ryan Miller didn't have those resources. That sounds tough, he said, hating how hollow it sounded. You think you'll figure it out? We have to. Jack, Sarah, the crew, they're counting on me. And I want to do more, like that technical school I told you about. Teach people how to use that tech, not just for mining, but for any trade. Give folks a real shot. She looked at him, her eyes fierce. You ever feel like you're meant to do something bigger than yourself? Ethan's throat tightened. He built a billion-dollar company, but it had never felt like it mattered, not the way Emily's dreams did. Yeah, he said softly. I'm starting to. She smiled, and for a moment, he forgot he was lying. They spent the rest of the evening dancing to a local band's cover of country hits, Emily laughing as Ethan stumbled through a 2-step. You're hopeless, Ryan, she teased, guiding his hands. But you're trying, and that's what counts. As they swayed under the lights, Ethan realized he was falling for her hard. Not just for her warmth or her laugh, but for the way she made him want to be better, to be Ryan, even if Ryan was a fiction. Across town, in the sleek glass-walled offices of Carter Enterprises, Olivia Carter sat at her desk, her manicured, nails tapping against a tablet. At 35, she was the company's Q, a razor-sharp strategist who'd helped turn their biotech firm into a powerhouse. But tonight, her focus wasn't on market shares or R&D budgets. It was on her brother, Ethan, who'd been acting like a man possessed for weeks. She swiped through photos on her phone, sent by a private investigator she'd hired, Daniel Pierce. The images showed Ethan Carter, billionaire CEO in a cheap flannel shirt, driving a beat-up Honda, and laughing with a woman covered in dirt at a coffee shop. Olivia's lip curled. What are you playing at, Ethan? She muttered. Daniel, a wiry man in his 50s with a questionable mustache, sat across from her, scrolling through his own device. He's calling himself Ryan Miller, unemployed construction worker, been on 15 blind dates through ConnectSphere. This woman, Emily Harper, is the only one who's stuck around. Emily Harper, Olivia repeated, her voice dripping with disdain. She opened Emily's profile on X, where a few grainy photos showed her at a mining site, surrounded by workers. Her bio read, asterisk, gold prospector. Building my dad's legacy one day at a time. Hashtag Dallas proud, asterisk. Olivia scoffed. A gold digger, more like. I don't know, Daniel said, scratching his chin. Her financials are clean. Family owns. A small mining operation, barely breaking even. She's got no history of chasing rich guys. Then why is she with Ethan? Olivia snapped. He's pretending to be broke, and she's still interested. Either she's a saint or she's smarter than we think. Olivia leaned back, her mind racing. Carter Enterprises was on the verge of a major deal with a Japanese biotech firm, a $50 million expansion into Asia. Ethan's erratic behavior disappearing for days. Ignoring board meetings threatened to derail it. Worse if word got out that the CEO was playing dress-up with some small-town prospector. The company's reputation could take a hit. In 2025, X was a ruthless amplifier of scandals. One viral post could tank their stock. Find out everything about her, Olivia ordered. Her family, her business, her crew. And keep tracking Ethan. I want to know where he goes, who he talks to. That'll cost you, Daniel said, smirking. $3,000 a week. I don't care. Just do it. Olivia opened X on her tablet, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. She created a burner account dash at Dallas Insider 22.5 and typed a cryptic post. Asterisk. Big name in Dallas playing a dangerous game. Who's hiding behind a fake name? Hashtag city secrets, asterisk. She hit post, watching the likes trickle in. If Ethan wanted to play this game, she'd make sure he played by her rules. Back at Emily's mining site the next weekend, Ethan stood awkwardly, in rubber boots, holding a bucket of sediment as Emily showed him how to sift for gold. The site was a patchwork of old equipment and homemade fixes, nestled in a dusty valley outside Dallas. Jack Thompson, a burly equipment expert, and Sarah Mitchell, a self-taught geologist, eyed Ethan with suspicion, but Emily's enthusiasm was contagious. Careful, Ryan, Emily called, laughing as he nearly dropped the bucket. It's not a bomb. I'm trying, Ethan said, grinning despite himself. He was terrible at this, his hands, used to signing contracts, fumbled with the heavy tools, but being near Emily made it worth it. She moved with confidence, explaining the process with a passion that lit up her face. See, we're looking for tiny flakes, she said, pointing to the sediment. It's not like in the movies, no big nuggets. Just patience and a good eye. Ethan watched her, marveling at her resilience. The site was under pressure, she told him, from new 2025 environmental regulations requiring costly upgrades. Yet she never complained, only planned. Her mind always on her crew and her father's legacy. As they took a break under a tree, Emily handed him a bottle of water. You're not half bad at this, Ryan, for a guy who's rethinking life. Ethan chuckled, but his phone buzzed, interrupting the moment. It was Lucas, texting. Asterisk. Board meeting rescheduled to tonight. Japanese investors. You need to be here. Asterisk. Ethan glanced at Emily, who was wiping sweat from her brow, humming a tune. I gotta take this, he said, stepping away. It's my boss. No problem, Emily said, but her eyes lingered on him, a flicker of curiosity in them. Lucas. What is it? Ethan whispered into the phone. The Asia deal, boss. $50 million. They're only in town tonight. Ethan looked back at Emily, who was joking with Jack about a broken pump. The deal felt distant, unimportant. Move it to Monday, he said. I'm busy. Busy pretending to be poor. Lucas sighed. You're gonna give me a heart attack. Ethan hung up, returning to Emily with a forced smile. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just work stuff." He hated the lie, but the truth felt impossible. How could he tell her he was a billionaire playing a role, especially now, when she looked at him like he was someone worth knowing? That evening, as they sat on her porch eating leftover chili, Emily's phone pinged. She glanced at it, her brow furrowing. "Weird," she muttered, showing him an X post from a Dallas Insider 22.5. Asterisk. Someone's living a double life in Dallas. Who's Ryan Miller, really? Hashtag city secrets, asterisk. Ethan's heart stopped. "Probably just some troll," he said, his voice too casual. "Maybe," Emily said, but her eyes searched his, a shadow of doubt creeping in. "You'd tell me if something was up, right, Ryan?" "Of course," Ethan lied, his stomach twisting. As she leaned against him, pointing out a shooting star, he felt the weight of his deception heavier than ever. Olivia was closing in, and he was running out of time to keep Ryan Miller alive. The sun hung low over the Harper family's mining site, casting long shadows across the dusty equipment and gravel piles. Emily Harper, her work boots caked with dirt, crouched near a sediment sifter, her hands steady despite the mornings. Nausea. At 28, she'd grown used to the physical demands of gold prospecting, but the past few days had brought a new kind of unease. A faint dizziness had crept in, followed by a queasy reaction to her beloved coffee. She'd brushed it off as stressed new environmental regulations were squeezing the mine's budget, and her budding relationship with Ryan Miller felt too good to be true. But as she stood, a wave of lightheadedness hit, and she steadied herself against a rusty pump. "Easy, Emily," Jack Thompson called from across the site, his burly frame hauling a crate of tools. "You look like you're about to keel over." "I'm fine," Emily lied, forcing a smile. "Just didn't sleep much." Jack raised an eyebrow but didn't press. Sarah Mitchell, the self-taught geologist, joined them, wiping sweat from her brow. "You sure? You've been off all week. Maybe see a doctor." Emily waved them off, but her mind raced. She hadn't told anyone, not Jack, not Sarah, not even her grandmother Evelyn, about the suspicion gnawing at her. It had been a month since she and Ryan started dating, their connection growing stronger with every shared meal, every laugh, every quiet moment on her porch. But the math didn't lie. Her last cycle was late, and the signs were unmistakable. She was pregnant. The thought sent a mix of joy and panic through her. Ryan was sweet, genuine, but unemployed, scraping by. How would he react to a baby? As she packed up her tools, her phone buzzed with a notification from X, another post from a Dallas Insider 22.5. Asterisk. Ryan Miller's not who he says he is. Big secrets in Big D, stay tuned. Hashtag city secrets, asterisk. Emily frowned. The vague posts had been popping up for days, each one chipping away at her trust. Ryan had dodged questions about his past, and that Porsche she'd seen him climb out of last week didn't add up. He'd said it was his boss's, but the suit he'd worn looked custom-made, not borrowed. She shook her head, pushing the doubts aside. Tonight, she'd cook dinner for him, maybe even tell him about the pregnancy. She wanted to believe in him. Across Dallas, in the sleek offices of Carter Enterprises, Olivia Carter sat with Daniel Pierce, the private investigator she'd hired. Photos and documents littered her desk. Ethan in his flannel disguise, laughing with Emily at a farmer's market. Bank records showing his minimal spending as Ryan Miller. Even a fake connects for your profile. Olivia's sharp eyes scanned the evidence, her lips pressed into a thin line. "He's lost it," she said, tossing a photo of Ethan holding a bucket at Emily's mine, pretending to be some broke nobody while we're closing a $50 million deal with Japan. "If this gets out, our investors will panic." Daniel leaned back, his cheap suit creasing. "The girl's clean, though." Emily Harper's just a small-time prospector, no criminal record, no gold digger vibes. Family's been running that mine for decades, but they're barely solvent. New EPA rules are crushing them. Then why is she with him? Olivia snapped. Ethan's playing pauper, and she's still hanging on. She must know something, or she just likes him. Daniel said, shrugging. Happens sometimes, Olivia scoffed, opening her laptop. She'd escalated her plan, using an AI tool to create a deepfake video and doctored photos showing Ethan Carter, not Ryan Miller at high society events with a glamorous, blonde, Claire Bennett, a fictional heiress she'd invented. The images were flawless, down to the lighting and shadows. She'd also drafted fake legal documents claiming Ethan was engaged to Claire, complete with a wedding date set for December. To amplify the lie, she'd been feeding a Dallas Insider 22.5 with teasing posts, building buzz on X. Last night's post had already garnered 10,000 likes and cryptic comments speculating about Dallas's mystery billionaire. Send Rachel to the mine, Olivia instructed, referring to her assistant, Rachel Evans. Have her pose as a journalist from Social Dallas. Show Emily the photos, the documents, everything. Let's see how much she likes him when she knows the truth. Daniel hesitated. This is next level, Olivia. Forging an engagement? If Ethan finds out, he won't. She cut in, her voice cold. He's too busy playing house. Do it. That afternoon, Emily was calibrating a new AI-driven emissions monitor, a loaner from a local university, part of her desperate bid to meet 2025 EPA standards, when a sleek black SUV pulled up to the mining site. A woman in a tailored blazer stepped out, her heels sinking into the gravel. She carried a camera and a folder, her smile practiced but sharp. Emily Harper? The woman called. I'm Julia Rodriguez from Social Dallas magazine. I'm doing a piece on local businesses and need to speak with you. It's about Ryan Miller. Emily wiped her hands on her jeans, her stomach twisting. Ryan? What's this about? Julia Rachel Evans in disguise opened the folder, revealing glossy photos. You know him as Ryan, but his real name is Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, worth $3 billion. She handed Emily a photo of Ethan in a tuxedo, arm around a stunning blonde at what looked like a gala. He's been engaged to Claire Bennett, an oil heiress, for 2 years. Weddings in December. Emily's hands trembled as she took the photo. It was Ryan's same green eyes, same jawline, but in a world she didn't recognize. The suit, the setting, the woman clinging to him, it was all wrong. This can't be right, she said, her voice barely a whisper. There's more. Rachel showed her a document labeled Engagement Agreement, stamped with a notary seal. He's been lying to you, Emily, pretending to be a broke construction worker while living a double life. Emily's knees buckled. She sat on a crate, staring at the photos. Her mind replayed every moment with Ryan. The farmer's market, the lasagna nights, the way he'd listened to her dreams. Was it all a game? And then, like a punch, she remembered the pregnancy. I'm pregnant, she blurted, her voice breaking. I'm pregnant by a man who doesn't exist. Rachel's eyes softened, but only for a moment. I'm sorry. I thought you deserved to know. She handed Emily the folder. Look at the evidence. Ask yourself what else he's hiding. As Rachel drove away, Emily's phone buzzed. Another ex-post from a Dallas Insider 22.5. Asterisk, billionaire's secret life exposed. Who's the mystery woman caught in his lies? Hashtag Carter Scandal asterisk. The hashtag was trending, with thousands of comments speculating about Ryan's identity. Emily's chest tightened, anger and heartbreak colliding. She grabbed her keys and headed for Ryan's apartment. The folder clutched like a weapon. Ethan was in the middle of a call with Lucas, discussing how to reschedule the Japan deal when his doorbell rang. He opened it to find Emily, her face pale, tears streaming down her cheeks. Before he could speak, she threw the photos at him, scattering them across the floor. "Who the hell is Claire Bennett?" she shouted. Ethan's heart stopped. He picked up a photo, his own face staring back from a gala he vaguely remembered. But the blonde beside him was a stranger. "Emily, I can explain." "Explain what?" She yelled, her voice raw. "That you've been engaged for 2 years? That you're not Ryan Miller, some broke construction worker, but Ethan Carter, a billionaire? You lied to me about everything." "Emily, please. Those photos aren't." Ethan reached for her, but she stepped back. "Don't touch me." She was sobbing now, the folder shaking in her hands. "I trusted you. I told you about my dad, my dreams, and I'm pregnant. Ethan or Ryan, or whoever you are. I'm carrying the child of a man who doesn't exist." Ethan felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. "Pregnant?" he whispered, his voice cracking. "Emily, I'm not engaged. Those photos are fake. I swear. Fake?" She laughed bitterly, wiping her eyes. "That's convenient. What else is fake? Your feelings for me? Was I just some experiment to you?" "Never." Ethan shouted, desperation clawing at him. "My feelings are real. Every moment with you is real. I love you, Emily." "How am I supposed to believe that?" she said, her voice breaking. "You built our entire relationship on a lie." She turned to her truck, ignoring his pleas. "Stay away from me, Ethan. I can't do this." "Emily, please, think about our baby," Ethan called, banging on her window as she started the engine. She rolled it down just enough to speak, her eyes red but resolute. "Our baby will grow up knowing the truth, unlike his mother, who was stupid enough to believe in you." She drove off, leaving Ethan standing in the street, the photos scattered at his feet. Across the road, Rachel watched from her SUV, texting Olivia. "It's done. She bought it." Olivia, sipping wine in her penthouse, smiled as she refreshed X, watching #Carter scandal climb the trends. Ethan's fantasy was over, and she'd make sure it stayed that way. Ethan Carter stood in his penthouse, staring out at the Dallas skyline, its twinkling lights a reminder of the life he'd built and the one he was about to dismantle. The scattered photos Emily had thrown at him 3 days ago still lay on the floor, a mocking collage of his lies. Each image of Ethan in a tuxedo, arm around a fabricated fiancée named Claire Bennett, felt like a knife twist. Emily was gone, pregnant with his child, and the weight of his deception crushed him. He'd spent years hiding behind wealth, but pretending to be Ryan Miller had exposed a truth he couldn't ignore. He loved Emily Harper, and he'd lost her by trying to protect himself. His phone buzzed relentlessly with notifications from X, where #Carter scandal was trending. Posts from a Dallas insider 22/5 fueled the fire. Millionaire CEO Ethan Carter caught living a double life. Who's the mystery woman? #Dallas drama *. Comments ranged from curious speculation to vicious attacks, with some calling him a fraud, others a heartbroken romantic. The media frenzy was bleeding into Carter Enterprises' stock price, down 3% in 2 days. Ethan didn't care about the money. He cared about Emily and the baby he might never know. Lucas Bennett, his assistant, burst into the penthouse, tie askew. "Ethan, you've got to see this." He thrust a tablet at him, displaying an X post with a blurry photo of Emily at her mying site, captioned, *. Is this the woman who broke Ethan Carter's heart? Or did he break hers? #Carter scandal *. The post had 20,000 likes and thousands of replies, some defending Emily, others accusing her of chasing Ethan's fortune. "This is out of control," Lucas said, pacing. "Your sister's behind it, you know. Olivia's been feeding that account. She's trying to force you back to reality." Ethan's jaw tightened. Olivia, of course. Her cold smile as she orchestrated this betrayal was burned into his mind. She doesn't get it, he said, his voice low. Emily wasn't after my money. She loved Ryan, the guy I was pretending to be, and I ruined it. Then fix it, Lucas said, exasperated. Tell her the truth, all of it. I tried. She doesn't trust me. Ethan sank onto the couch, running a hand through his hair. But I'm not giving up. I can't. The next morning, Ethan met with his lawyers at Carter Enterprises headquarters. The boardroom, usually a place of calculated deals, felt like a courtroom as he outlined his plan. I'm stepping down as CEO, he said, ignoring the gasps from the suits around the table. And I'm transferring 80% of my personal wealth, roughly $2.4 billion, into a charitable fund for underprivileged communities, focusing on technical education and rural development. Emily Harper's vision inspired it. She managed the fund for our child's future. Dr. Harrison, his lawyer for 15 years, adjusted his glasses, stunned. Ethan, this is unprecedented. You're talking about dismantling your legacy. No, Ethan said firmly. I'm building a new one. One that matters. The room erupted in objections, but Ethan's mind was made up. Emily's dream of a technical school for her community, teaching modern mining techniques and safety protocols, had struck a chord. In 2025, America's rural areas were struggling, with job losses from automation and strict environmental laws squeezing small operations like Emily's. Ethan's fund would provide training, equipment, and opportunities starting in Dallas. He'd set aside 20% of his wealth for his unborn child, with Emily as trustee, ensuring their future without forcing her to forgive him. As news of his decision leaked, X exploded. Posts debated whether Ethan was a hero or a fool, with hashtags like #billionaire giveaway trending alongside #Carter scandal. One user wrote, Ethan Carter's donating billions to the poor? Either he's lost it or he's the real deal. #Dallas proud, Another countered, sounds like a PR stunt to cover up his lies. #scammer, The public was divided, reflecting America's polarized views on wealth and redemption in 22.5. Olivia Carter, however, was furious. She stormed into Ethan's office the next day, her heels clicking like gunfire on the marble floor. You're throwing away our family's empire for some gold-digging nobody? She shouted, slamming a tablet on his desk. It showed a news article. Billionaire Ethan Carter resigns. Donates fortune in wake of scandal. She's not a gold digger, Ethan said, his voice dangerously calm. And this isn't about the company. It's about doing what's right. Right? Olivia laughed, bitter. You're humiliating us. The board's in chaos, our investors are pulling out, and you're out there playing martyr. I filed a lawsuit, Ethan. Mental incompetence. No one in their right mind gives away $2.4 billion. Ethan stared at her, his sister's ambition laid bare. You'd rather destroy me than let me be happy? I'm saving you, Olivia snapped. And the company. You have 48 hours to retract this nonsense, or I'll make sure Emily knows every detail of your lies in court. She stormed out, leaving Ethan with a choice. Fight for his company, or fight for Emily. He chose Emily. The following Sunday, Ethan drove to the open-air market in Emily's neighborhood, where the community gathered weekly to sell crafts and produce. The air smelled of fresh tortillas and blooming jasmine, but the crowd's chatter hushed as Ethan climbed onto a wooden crate in the center of the square. Emily was there, across the market, selling handmade bracelets to raise funds for the mine. Her eyes, red from sleepless nights, locked onto him, a mix of anger and curiosity. Excuse me, Ethan shouted, his voice carrying over the murmurs. Faces turned vendors, kids, Emily's crew, Jack and Sarah among them. My name is Ethan Carter, not Ryan Miller. I'm the CEO of Carter Enterprises. We're $3 billion. I pretended to be a poor construction worker to find true love, and I found it with Emily Harper. The crowd gasped, whispers rippling. Emily froze, her hands clutching a bracelet. Ethan pushed on, his heart pounding. I lied to all of you. To Emily most of all. She's the most honest, brave, and generous woman I've ever met, and I hurt her with my cowardice. I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I need you to know the truth. I love her, and I'm so sorry. He stepped down, humiliated but lighter, as if the weight of his lies had lifted. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some sympathetic, others hostile. Jack crossed his arms, glaring. Sarah shook her head, muttering, "Rich people." Emily stared at Ethan for a long moment, tears streaming down her face, then turned and walked away, her figure disappearing into the market's bustle. Ethan's heart sank, but her slow steps, not running, not fleeing, gave him a sliver of hope. That evening, news of Ethan's public apology hit X, amplified by local bloggers and national outlets. Billionaire's public confession shocks Dallas community, one headline read. Supporters praised his courage, while critics called it a desperate stunt. The hashtag Ethan Carter apology trended alongside hashtag Carter scandal, with posts like, "This guy lied to everyone, but that apology? Gotta respect the guts. Hashtag Dallas proud, Others were less kind. Rich guy plays poor, breaks hearts, and cries about it? Pass. Hashtag Carter scandal, Olivia, watching the coverage from her office, saw an opportunity. She filed additional court documents, citing Ethan's erratic behavior and public spectacle as evidence of mental instability. She hired a PR firm to spin the narrative, leaking stories to X about Ethan's unhinged decisions. One post from a new account, at Truth About Carter, read, Ethan Carter's lost his mind, giving away billions to dodge accountability. Protect the company. Hashtag Carter crisis. The post, boosted by bots, went viral, fueling public doubt. Ethan, holed up in his penthouse, ignored the noise. He'd made his choice. Emily and their child were worth more than any empire. But as he stared at the photos on his floor, one thing was clear: Olivia's lawsuit was gaining traction, and winning Emily back would mean facing his sister in court. He called Lucas, his voice steady. "Get me every document on the fund, and find out who's behind a Dallas Insider 22.5. I'm not letting Olivia destroy this." Lucas sighed. "You're fighting a war on two fronts, boss. Hope you're ready." "I have to be," Ethan said. "For Emily, for our baby." Emily Harper sat on her porch, the late afternoon sun casting a golden glow over the modest bungalow. Her hand rested on her slightly rounded belly, where her unborn child, Ethan Carter's child, stirred faintly. 4 months pregnant, she felt caught in a storm of emotions. Anger at Ethan's lies, heartbreak over their shattered trust, and a nagging doubt about the photos that had torn them apart. The images of Ethan with Claire Bennett, the supposed fiancée, haunted her, but something about them didn't add up. The glossy perfection, the two neat documents, it felt staged, like a movie set. And then there was Ethan's public apology at the market 3 days ago, his voice raw with regret as he stood on that crate, baring his soul to her community. She hadn't forgiven him, but she couldn't stop replaying his words. I don't deserve her forgiveness, but I love her. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. Another X post from a Dallas Insider 22.5. Ethan Carter's billions gone to charity hero or fool. Hashtag Carter scandal. The comments were a battleground, some praising Ethan's donation, others mocking his midlife crisis. Emily scrolled, her heart racing when she saw a new post. Asterisk. Why did Ethan Carter lie? Was it love or a game? The truth is coming. Hashtag Dallas proud double quotes asterisk. The hashtag had shifted from scandal to support, with locals defending her community and questioning the narrative. One user, a Texas truth seeker, wrote, asterisk, those photos of Carter with some heiress look fake. Check the shadows. Someone's playing dirty. Hashtag Carter scandal asterisk. Emily froze. Fake? She pulled the folder Rachel Evans had given her from her bag. Stunning. The photo of Ethan and Claire. The commenter was right. The lighting on Claire's face didn't match Ethan's, and the background seemed oddly blurred. Her pulse quickened. If the photos were manipulated, who was behind it, and why? She drove to her grandmother Evelyn's one-story home, needing her sharp-eyed wisdom. Evelyn, 78 and as fierce as ever, was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of tea. You look like you've seen a ghost, Evelyn said, setting the kettle down. Spill it, child. Emily spread the photos on the table, explaining the ex-posts and her doubts. These don't feel right, Grandma. And Ethan's apology. He sounded so broken. What if someone set him up? Evelyn squinted at the photos, her lips pursing. Looks like a rich person's trick. Too clean, too perfect. You said his sister's a piece of work. Olivia, Emily said, nodding. Ethan mentioned she runs the company with him. She wasn't happy about him spending time with me. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. Sounds like a woman who'd rather burn bridges than share them. You need proof, Emily. Go to her office. People like that always leave a trail. The next morning, Emily parked her battered red pickup outside the gleaming Carter Enterprises Tower in downtown Dallas. Her heart pounded as she walked into the lobby, her work boots out of place among the polished marble and suited professionals. She'd never been in a place like this, where wealth hung in the air like perfume. At the reception desk, she squared her shoulders. I need to see Olivia Carter. It's about Ethan. It's urgent. The receptionist, a young woman with a skeptical glance, hesitated. Do you have an appointment? No, but it's personal. Please. Emily's voice was firm, her pregnancy giving her a new kind of courage. After a tense pause, the receptionist relented. 30th floor, last door on the right. Emily rode the elevator, her hands trembling. The hallway was quiet, the door to Olivia's office slightly ajar. Voices drifted out, sharp and secretive. Emily pressed herself against the wall, listening. Are you sure you destroyed everything? Olivia's voice was low, urgent. The emails, the receipts? All gone, a man replied. Daniel Pierce, the investigator. The original photos are in this folder. No edits, just like you asked. If anyone compares them to the fakes, they'll see the difference. Good, Olivia said. Burn them. And the contract with the graphic editor? The deepfake video? Shredded. And deleted. Rachel paid off the actress who posed as Claire Bennett. No one's talking. Emily's blood ran cold. They were discussing her life, her pain like it was a business deal. She edged closer, peering through the crack in the door. Olivia held a brown folder, identical to the one Rachel had given her. Emily's mind raced. She needed that folder. The sound of footsteps snapped her back. Olivia and Daniel were heading toward the door. Emily ducked behind a column, her heart hammering as they passed, Olivia clutching the folder. They disappeared into the elevator, and Emily seized her chance. She slipped into the office, her eyes scanning the cluttered desk. There, half hidden under a stack of papers, was another brown folder. She opened it, her breath catching. Original photos of Ethan at events, alone, with no blonde by his side. Receipts for a graphic editor named Pixelcraft AI. Emails between Olivia and someone named Claire H. detailing payments for a staged photo shoot. A contract with Daniel Pierce for investigative services and evidence fabrication. My God, Emily whispered, flipping through the documents. Olivia had orchestrated everything: the photos, the fake engagement, the campaign to destroy. Her relationship with Ethan. She stuffed the folder into her bag and hurried out, her hands shaking with fury and relief. That afternoon, Emily drove to the Carter Enterprises tower again, this time demanding to see Olivia. The receptionist, recognizing her urgency, buzzed her through. Olivia's office was pristine now, the desk cleared, but her expression faltered when she saw Emily, folder in hand. "What do you want?" Olivia asked, her voice icy. "The truth," Emily said, slamming the folder on the desk. Photos and documents spilled out. "You faked everything. The engagement, the photos, Claire Bennett. You used AI, paid people to lie, and spread it on X to ruin us." Olivia's face paled, but she recovered quickly. "You're out of your depth, Emily. This is business, not some small-town drama." "Business?" Emily's voice rose, trembling with anger. "You broke my heart. I'm pregnant with your brother's child, and you made me think he was a monster. Withdraw your lawsuit against Ethan, or I'm posting this on X, every document, every email. #Carter Scandal will bury you." Olivia laughed, but it was hollow. "You think anyone will believe a nobody like you over me?" "They'll believe." "Proof," Emily said, holding up her phone already open to X. "Your own employees are liking posts calling you out. The community's on my side. Try me." Olivia's smirk faded. She knew the power of X in 2025. Viral posts could ruin reputations overnight. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth. "I'll drop the lawsuit, but don't think this makes you family." "I don't want to be your family," Emily shot back. "I just want Ethan to have a chance to be a father." She turned and left, the folder still in her bag, her resolve unshaken. That evening, Emily sat with Evelyn, recounting the confrontation. "You did good, child," Evelyn said, pouring tea. "But what about Ethan? That boy's trying, you know?" Emily touched her belly, thinking of Ethan's apology, his sacrifice. "I'm still hurt, Grandma. He lied for weeks. But, maybe he's not the man in those photos. Maybe he's the man who stood up in the market." Evelyn's eyes twinkled. "Only one way to find out. Talk to him. Not for you, but for that baby." Emily nodded, her heart heavy but hopeful. She opened X, posting from her own account. *, the truth matters. Sometimes it takes a fight to find it. #DallasProud*. The post gained traction, with locals rallying behind her. For the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. The Dallas courthouse loomed like a fortress under the gray morning sky, its stone facade a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of the city. Inside, Emily Harper sat in the gallery, her hand resting protectively on her 4-month pregnant belly. Her simple jeans and flannel shirt felt out of place among the tailored suits and clicking cameras, but her resolve was unshakable. Across the room, Ethan Carter stood at the defendant's table, his usual polished demeanor replaced by a plain sweater and tired eyes. The folder of evidence Emily had taken from Olivia's office lay before the judge, its contents original photos, payment receipts, and emails laid bare like an open wound. Olivia Carter, pale and rigid in a designer blazer, sat with her legal team, her composure cracking as the judge reviewed the documents. "Mrs. Carter," the judge said, his voice stern, "these receipts for AI-generated photo editing, emails orchestrating a fake engagement, and a contract for fabricated evidence all bear your signature. How do you explain this?" Olivia stammered. I was protecting our company. Ethan's actions were erratic, endangering our investors. By forging evidence and manipulating a pregnant woman?" Emily stood, her voice cutting through the courtroom. Your Honor, Olivia sent her assistant to my mining site, posing as a journalist to show me those fake photos. She tried to destroy my relationship with Ethan and keep my son from his father. The gallery murmured, reporters typing furiously on their devices. X was already ablaze with updates. The hashtag Carter scandal shifting to hashtag justice for Emily as locals posted support. Asterisk, Emily Harper standing up to the elite. Hashtag Dallas Proud asterisk. The judge banged his gavel. The mental incompetence case against Ethan Carter is dismissed. Olivia Carter, you will face charges of forgery, defamation, and fraud. This court is adjourned. Olivia was escorted out, her head bowed, while Ethan turned to Emily, his eyes searching hers. Thank you, he said softly, stepping closer, for finding the truth, for fighting for me. Emily's throat tightened. I did it for our son, she said, her voice steady but her heart wavering, and because I needed to know who you really are. They walked out into the courthouse steps where cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions. Ethan shielded Emily from the crowd, guiding her to her truck. Can we talk? He asked. Somewhere quiet? She hesitated, then nodded. My place. But no promises, Ethan. At Emily's bungalow, the familiar warmth of her home family photos, worn furniture, the faint scent of lavender eased the tension between them. They sat at the kitchen table, a pot of tea steaming between them. Emily's hands cradled her mug, her gaze fixed on Ethan. I'm still hurt, she said. You lied for weeks. Even after I told you I was pregnant, you didn't come clean. Ethan's shoulders slumped, guilt etched into his face. I know. I was terrified of losing you. When I started this pretending to be Ryan, I thought I was protecting myself, but every moment with you was real. The way I feel about you, about our baby, it's the truest thing I've ever known. Emily studied him, her heart torn. The man who danced with her at the farmer's market, who'd laughed at her grandmother's stories, was still there in Ethan's eyes. But trust was a fragile thing, and hers was in pieces. I can't just forget, she said. But our son deserves a father. So, here's my offer. We start as friends. For him, we see where it goes. Can you live with that? Ethan's face lit up, hope flickering. Friends is more than I deserve. I'll take anything you give me, Emily. She nodded, a small smile. Breaking through. No more lies. Ever. I promise, Ethan said, his voice firm. No secrets. You'll know everything, my past, my plans, my fears, all of it. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a quiet but steady presence in Emily's life. He drove her to prenatal appointments, sitting nervously in the waiting room as the doctor confirmed the baby Noah, they decided to call him, was healthy. He listened as Emily vented about the mine's struggles, particularly the 2025 EPA regulations demanding zero-emission equipment. One evening, as they sat on her porch, Emily sighed. We're barely keeping up. The crew's working overtime, but the new monitors cost a fortune. I'm scared we'll lose the mine. Ethan hesitated, then spoke carefully. I know a bit about tech from my old job. There's an AI software that could optimize your equipment, cut emissions without breaking the bank. I could connect you with some people. Emily raised an eyebrow, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. Ryan Miller knows AI now? You're full of surprises. Ethan chuckled, a blush creeping up his neck. Okay, Ethan Carter knows AI. My company's been working on sustainable tech. I can get you a demo, no strings attached. It's your mind, your call. She studied him, impressed by his restraint. He wasn't swooping in with money or solutions. He was offering help on her terms. All right, she said. Let's see what your fancy tech can do. The next day, Ethan arranged for a team from Carter Enterprises' AI division to visit the mine. They brought a prototype system that used machine learning to monitor emissions and optimize fuel use, tailored for small operations like Emily's. Jack and Sarah, initially skeptical, were won over when the system flagged a faulty pump that could have cost thousands to replace. "This thing's smarter than me," Jack grunted, earning a laugh from the crew. Emily watched Ethan interact with her team, his enthusiasm genuine as he explained the tech in simple terms. He didn't act like a billionaire, just a guy trying to help. "Thanks," she said later as they walked the site. "This could save us. It's the least I can do," Ethan said. "Your dad's legacy deserves to thrive." She looked at him, her guard softening. "You're not so bad at this friend thing." He grinned, a spark of the old Ryan Miller in his eyes. "I'm learning from the best." Their friendship grew through small moments. Ethan helping Emily sort through mining permits, Emily teaching him to grill burgers without burning them, and late-night talks about their fears as future parents. One evening, at a community festival near the mine, Emily dragged Ethan onto a makeshift dance floor where a local band played twangy covers. "Come on, city boy," she teased, guiding his clumsy steps. "You're not tripping over hoses anymore, so don't trip over me." Ethan laughed, pulling her closer as the music slowed. "I'm trying. You make it look easy." As they swayed, Emily rested her head on his shoulder, a moment of vulnerability. "I was so angry at you," she whispered. "But I see you trying, Ethan. It means something." His heart raced. "I'll keep trying, Emily, for you, for Noah." She pulled back, her eyes searching his. "Friends, remember?" "Friends." He agreed, but the word felt like a placeholder for something deeper. Meanwhile, X continued to buzz with updates. Emily's post about seeking truth had gone viral, and the community rallied behind her, with hashtag #DallasProud overtaking hashtag Carter Scandal. Local businesses donated to the mine, inspired by Ethan's fund, which was now funding scholarships for technical training. One post read, ***, Emily Harper and Ethan Carter are rebuilding trust one step at a time. Hashtag Dallas Heroes ***. But Ethan knew the road wasn't clear yet. Olivia, though disgraced, was out on bail, and her silence worried him. He confided in Lucas one night as they reviewed fund documents. "She's not done," Ethan said. "She'll come after me again." "Then keep being honest," Lucas said. "You've got Emily and a whole community behind you now. That's stronger than any lawsuit." Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. He'd lost Emily once to lies. He wouldn't let it happen again, no matter what Olivia planned. The Texas sky burned orange as the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing Emily Harper's porch in a warm glow. 8 months pregnant, she sat in a rocking chair, her hands resting on her swollen belly where Noah, her son with Ethan Carter, kicked. Gently, Ethan stood beside her, his sleeves rolled up, a nervous smile on his face. The past 3 months had been a slow dance of rebuilding trust prenatal visits, late-night talks, and Ethan's quiet support at her mining site. Tonight, though, he looked like a man on the edge of a cliff, clutching something small in his pocket. "Emily," he began, his voice soft but steady, "I need to tell you something." She tilted her head, her hazel eyes catching the sunset. "What's up?" "You're acting weirder than when you tried to fix my truck." Ethan laughed, the sound easing his nerves. "These last few months being with you, seeing Noah grow inside. They've been the best of my life. Not because of the fun or stepping away from the company, but because I learned what really matters." He knelt before her, pulling a simple solitaire ring from his pocket. "Emily Harper, will you marry me? Not Ethan Carter, the billionaire, but me, the man who loves you more than anything." Emily's breath caught, tears welling in her eyes. The ring wasn't flashy, just like she'd always wanted. She looked into Ethan's green eyes, seeing the man who'd stood in her community's market, bearing his soul, and who'd fought to earn her trust. "Ethan," she said, her voice trembling, "are you sure? After everything?" "I'm sure," he said, his gaze unwavering. "I want to spend my life proving I deserve you." She smiled, tears spilling over. Yes, I'll marry you." She held out her hand, and Ethan slipped the ring on, his fingers shaking. They kissed, slow and tender, sealing a promise built on truth. "But," Emily said, pulling back with a grin, "I've got conditions. Total honesty, always. No lies, no secrets. Done," Ethan said. "A simple life. No penthouses or private jets. Done. And Noah learns the value of hard work, not handouts. Done." "Ethan," said, kissing her again, "I promise it all." 2 weeks later, the community church in Emily's neighborhood overflowed with locals, the pews adorned with wildflowers and ribbons. Emily, 9 months pregnant, walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, her belly proudly visible. Ethan stood at the altar, his heart racing, surrounded by Jack Thompson, Sarah Mitchell, and Grandma Evelyn, who dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. Even Lucas Bennett, Ethan's former assistant, was there, grinning like a proud brother. "Do you, Emily Harper," the pastor said, "take Ethan Carter to be your husband? To love and respect in sickness and health, in wealth and poverty?" I do," Emily said, her voice clear, her eyes locked on Ethan's. "And you, Ethan, take Emily to be your wife, promising to honor and protect her every day?" "I do," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. The pastor smiled. "I pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss your bride." Their kiss was long, passionate, met with cheers from the crowd. As they pulled apart, Emily whispered, "No turning back now, city boy." "Wouldn't dream of it," Ethan replied, his hand on her belly. 5 days later, in the middle of the night, Emily's contractions started. "Ethan!" she shouted, gripping the bed frame. "It's time." Ethan, half asleep, bolted upright, fumbling for his keys. Okay, hospital, right? Let's go." He drove like a man possessed, muttering, "It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine." More to himself than Emily, who snapped, "Stop talking and drive." After 8 grueling hours at the hospital, Noah Carter was born, a perfect bundle with Ethan's green eyes and Emily's stubborn chin. When the nurse placed him in Emily's arms, the room fell silent. "Look at him," Emily whispered, tears streaming. "Our son." Ethan touched Noah's tiny hand, overwhelmed. "He's perfect. Absolutely perfect." "Hi, Noah. Emily murmured, "I'm your mom, and this crybaby's your dad." Ethan's eyes welled up. "I promise you, Noah, I'll always tell the truth. I'll protect you and love your mom forever." Noah's eyes opened, meeting his father's and Ethan, broke into quiet sobs. "He looked at me, Emily. He knows I'm his dad." "He knows he's loved," Emily said, smiling. 2 weeks later, as Emily and Ethan adjusted to sleepless nights and diaper changes, an unexpected visitor arrived at their bungalow. Olivia Carter stood at the door, thinner, her usual arrogance replaced by a hesitant humility. "Can I come in?" she asked, clutching a small gift. "I know I don't deserve it." Emily glanced at Ethan, who nodded. "Come in," Emily said, holding Noah. Olivia stepped inside, her eyes softening at the sight of the baby. "I came to apologize. Truly, and to meet my nephew." She set a stuffed bear on the table, her hands trembling. "I almost destroyed your family. I'll carry that guilt forever." "You hurt us," Emily said, her voice calm but firm. "But everyone deserves a chance to change." Olivia's eyes filled with tears. "I've lost everything, my position, my pride. But seeing you two, seeing Noah, I understand now what matters. I want to rebuild my life. No lies." Ethan studied her, wary but hopeful. What's your plan? Start over, Olivia said. Maybe work with nonprofits, help people. I've learned money without love is nothing. To everyone's surprise, Emily stood and hugged Olivia. I forgive you, she said. Not for what you did, but because Noah needs an aunt who's trying to be better. Olivia sobbed, clinging to Emily. Thank you. I'll prove it, I swear. 6 months later, on a sunny Sunday, the family gathered on Emily's porch. Emily nursed Noah while Ethan read news about his foundation, now partnered with federal programs to fund vocational schools across rural America. The first school opens next week, he said, beaming. It'll train 200 locals in mining tech and safety. Your dad would be proud, Emily. Grandma Evelyn arrived with a peach pie, kissing Noah's head. My boy's doing all right? Happy, Emily said, smiling. Completely happy. Olivia joined them, bringing a toy for Noah. Over the past months, she'd become a regular presence, volunteering at the foundation and earning their trust. How's my favorite nephew? She cooed, making faces at Noah. He's your only nephew, Ethan laughed. Then he's the best, Olivia teased. Her warmth a far cry from the woman she'd been dubbed as the family laughed. Ethan looked at Emily, Noah, and even Olivia, his heart full. Pretending to be Ryan Miller had cost him everything, his company, his reputation, but it had led him here, to a simple porch, a real family, and a love worth every sacrifice. Ethan and Emily's journey is a testament to the power of truth, forgiveness, and love. Their story reminds us that wealth and status mean little without authenticity. Ethan's lies, born from fear, nearly destroyed his chance at happiness. But his courage to change, giving up billions, confessing publicly shows that redemption is possible when we face our mistakes. Emily's strength in confronting Olivia and choosing to forgive highlights the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of community. Even Olivia's transformation underscores that no one is beyond change when guided by love. In 2025, as America grapples with division and mistrust, this story urges us to seek connection, own our truths, and build lives rooted in what truly matters. What do you think of Ethan and Emily's story? Rate it from 0 to 10 in the comments and share your thoughts. Subscribe to Legacy Stories for more heartwarming tales of love and redemption, and hit the bell to never miss a story. Let's keep inspiring each other. #Legacy Stories.